Hello, class. This is your podcast on growth and development. Um, Growth and development is talking about how children grow physically, emotionally, and intellectually. We will be using the theorists Erikson and Piaget. There are handouts in your packet to help with that. Nice little tables. These are before you get worked up. These theorists are theorists you've talked about many times before. You talked about Piaget and Erikson and Psych. You've talked about Erikson and Piaget in the 140s as well as Maslow. And I know for a fact in the 150s you've covered Erikson as well. So this, although it seems overwhelming, is just remember this is a review. You've learned this many different semesters. The concepts that we will be covering are right here in this slide, as you can read. Why is growth and development important? Children grow at expected rates. This means that on average, we can expect certain things at a certain years of children. Does that mean every child grows at that rate? No. Does that mean some will meet these milestones earlier? Yes. Some will meet them later? Yes. But they're there to help give us a guide and to implement help and support when a child is falling behind on those and in that growth and development category. Okay. We talked about early intervention. It is needed if they're not meeting their milestones. What we really want to see is someone is meeting their growth and development and having a nice curve, and we'll see that on the next slide. We don't want any sharp drops, and we'll look at that right now on this slide. So if you can see this slide, there are expected that upward growth and curve. Now this is for length and this is for weight. So really you want to see a child who is about the same on both. That's proportionately nice. Now, if you see someone who's in the 50th percentile for length, but in the 90th percentile for weight, they're still within normal. You still want them to follow that upward curve with that growth. But what you don't want to see is somebody in the 50th percentile for length and in well over where they should be in their weight, and that's very disproportionate. So that's why you will see children be put on this to make sure that they are growing appropriately. Growth, as you can see, is the increase in physical size. Development is the progression in skill. Development talks about emotionally, intellectually, and socially as well. Growth and development is always orderly and sequential. Even if it is at a different rate, they still grow and develop in the same order. There are some exceptions, such as we've all heard of the child that never crawls, just goes straight from sitting to pretty much standing and walking. So there are some differences, but it's rare. It's not the norm. Our growth and development chart and our anticipatory guidance sheets are what provides a basis for our assessment, what to expect. It doesn't mean that every single infant and every single child is going to do everything at the exact same time. I just want to stress that to you guys. Things that influence growth and development: heredity, genetics, gender, race and ethnicity. For example, I am 5 foot, my husband is 6 foot. We are not going to have children I'm sorry, I'm 5'4". My husband is 6 foot. We are not going to have 5 foot children. Um, Based on our biological makeup, our children are probably going to be taller. Environmentally, the health status, family, and community also play a part in growth and development. Children need healthy food and health care, and they need supportive families in order to grow and develop normally. I don't really like the word normal, but in a fashion that we're used to, okay? Age groups. So we're going to define our age groups this way. You may see some variations depending on where you look, but our infant's going to be birth to 12 months, toddler 1 to 3, preschooler 4 to 5 years, school aged 5 to 12 years, and adolescent 12 to 21 years. This is the same definition as your book has. Talking about development of the infant, as you can see how they gain weight. By 6 months, their birth weight doubles. By 12 months, it should triple. And there you can see how they grow as far as length. When you think about how an infant is growing, also taking into account ethnicity, sex, hereditary, but food is very important. So if we don't feed them, just remember they're not going to grow. Development continuing for infancy, those fontanelles, so those soft spots as people will call them, the one in the back posteriorly closes 10 to 12 weeks. So it's closed pretty quick, and it's the smaller of the two. The anterior one, the one in the front, closes between 12 to 18 months. The head and the chest circumference, head is bigger proportionally when the infant is born. It takes a long time for a child's head to become proportional as far as how we are in adult world. So when they are born, again, their head is proportionally larger. Development of the body, 1 to 2 years, as you can see how they will start gaining weight. So when you're charting them on that growth curve, if they're not gaining about this, you can start to see a downward trend in that curve. Once, okay, maybe it's a growth spurt, maybe it's something else as far as their weight's concerned, but if they continue to go down in that curve, you have to look at what's going on. That's a very good indication that something's not right. As far as adolescence, weight is going to vary based on activity level. So most growth is done by adolescents. And as you can see, boys and girls in their height, some growth may occur as up to and after age 18 for boys. A fun-filled fact, a male brain is not fully developed until 25 years old. As children develop, they initially develop first cephalocaudally. That is the development where their head develops first, body and feet. So they develop from the head down, and you can see this as we're talking excuse me, about birth to 4 weeks. They're starting to be able to move their head from side to side when they're prone. At 6 weeks, you can see they're getting more head control. Again, they're developing from head, body, and feet. Gross motor skills is the use of the larger muscles, using most of your body, like rolling over. Fine motor skills, which we'll talk about shortly. We're talking about coordination of small muscles, being able to use pincher grasp and hands and fingers and eyes, that kind of coordination. At 6 weeks, they should be able to have getting more head control. So as you can see there on that slide. As they continue to develop, you are going to hear what they also grow proximal distally. What that means is now they're starting to develop from their body moving out. For example, children don't have long or big arms and legs. They have a bigger body, and then they have smaller arms and legs. They learn how to develop their body first, and then it goes out into their arms, into their fingers, like that. So first they develop for head, body, feet, and then they start developing from body and body outward. So again, proximal distal development means the children learn to move their body before learning how to move their little fingers. And you can see there what they should be able to do by 5 months and at 6 months. Moving along, 8 months. Again, think safety. They should be supported in their high chair. They should have the safety straps on them. I will tell you that my youngest did fall out of the high chair when he was probably 6 or 7 months old, when my mother-in-law was feeding him. So, safety is important. At 9 months, they can pull themselves up to stand. They're what they're calling cruising. They're able to hold on to things and walk around. By 12 months, maybe be able to stand alone, or stands alone, but maybe be able to walk by then. Remember that when a child goes into the emergency department with a laceration, 98% of the time it involves the child versus the coffee table. So that's why they have those bumper pads on them that you can buy for your coffee table. We're talking about now toddlers, so a year to 2 years. And if you see their complete myelination of the nerve tract, that means that the myelination sheath fully forms around the nerves. This allows the nerves to create those impulses more quickly. This means toddlers can start to move more quickly. Oftentimes this will take a parent or grandparent by surprise. So by 18 months they can run, climb. We need to be careful of stairs and swimming and pools. We need to make sure that we have everything locked, and there's all those water safety things. We'll talk a little bit more in class, but things on high shelves are not safe at this age. They can climb and get to them. 2 years old, jumping, climbing stairs one at a time and kicking a ball. 3 years old, standing on one foot, hopping with both feet. At 3 years old, the child should be able to sit up, should be able to feed themselves, should be running. Lots of fun going on. Continuing on with gross motor development, as a preschooler, 4-year-olds should be able to hop, walk downstairs, alternating feet with no handrails, although they should use them for safety. By 5, riding a bike with helmet, right? Skipping, jumping, 3 or 4 steps at a time. They do like to jump off stairs. Running and playing games. Fun times. And then school age and adolescent for gross motor development. You're talking about jumping rope, throwing ball, complex combined activities, so t-ball and soccer and things like this. This is where they start really getting into those types of things, okay? We will continue with our growth and development podcast. We will start with growth and development of fine motor starting at birth.